We now come to Amendment 127A. Baroness Bennett of Manor Castle.
My Lords, I rise to move Amendment 127A, which appears in my name. And this is a milder attempt to deal with the pressing issue of pay inequality in our society and soaring executive pay than the amendment I tabled at committee, which was to provide for a 10-to-1 maximum pay ratio for enterprises. This is one that I hope will have a slightly less inflationary impact on the blood pressure of the noble Lord Hunt of Wirral, while dealing with the excessive boardroom enumeration referred to by the noble Lord Monks 2 groups ago. So this amendment simply seeks to put on the face of the bill a review of the impact of pay inequality in large enterprises, as defined by the Companies under the Companies Act 2006, those with net turnover of more than 54 million, assets of 27 million, more than 250 employees. I hope that the government will seriously consider taking this approach. It's not my intention to put this to a vote, but I really want to be helpful to the government here to offer it some constructive ways forward. For the noble Lord Katz, in part, made the argument for this amendment for me at committee when he said it is right that companies should be sensitive to wider workforce pay when setting pay for those in the boardroom and other senior leadership positions. Now, I think, however, that suggesting that companies be sensitive is not really going to do it. This does seem to be the government's position. I note that the Water Minister, Emma Hardy, on LBC this morning, urged water companies' bosses to read the room and refuse huge wage hikes. Well, I think the room's been sending a very clear message about water company bosses' pay for a long time, and the voluntary approach has simply not been working. But what we're talking about here is the right for lower paid workers not to be disrespected, insulted by the soaring pay in the boardroom while they struggle to meet their basic needs, pay their bills and put foods on the table. This is action that clearly needs to be taken, not just words of gentle encouragement. If we look at companies such as Mitie, the security and catering company, which, as I said at committee, has a 575-to-1 ratio between the top-paid employee and the median employee, with a large number of low-paid workers, topping the high-pay centre's hall of shame among FTSE 350 companies. I have to note that this month, the Labour Party postponed a London drinks reception for North West MPs, sponsored by Mitie, after a backlash over the company's employment practices. Unison had planned to picket the event. You have to question why it was ever planned in the first place. But a review such as this amendment proposes could be a start towards the Labour government generating policies such as those recommended by the High Pay Centre in its very useful list of proposals. I would recommend it to ministers as a crib sheet, since the current government was elected with so few policies of its own in place, such as all employee profit sharing or share ownership schemes. As the Centre notes, one reason why the pay ratio between workers and CEOs is so wide is that CEOs receive large share-based payments in addition to their regular salaries, while workers do not. In France, for example, all companies are required to share an element of profits exceeding a set amount, calculated using factors including taxable profits, net equity, wages, and added value with their workforce, which has actually reduced inequality. Another particularly timely proposal from the Centre that, again, a review might throw up is a cap on CEO to worker pay gaps for public service providers, such as water companies. We've got another way forward here, or social care providers. The claim that Lord Katz made in committee that high pay means that companies can compete for the best business talent in the UK and globally certainly does not stack up in the water sector, looking at its outcomes. Fat cap pay has only delivered underinvestment, pollution and ill health for those unfortunate enough to have to rely on the services of these privatised companies. Finally, I will note that responding to the call from the UK Capital Markets Task Force, drawn from the City of London and big business, for even higher executive pay, a letter from 20 leading academics specialising in executive pay, corporate governance and economic inequality made a number of points. There is a very questionable link between higher executive pay and better business performance. Any claim that there's a shortage of capable candidates for executive roles should provoke scrutiny of the company's leadership training and development processes. And the opportunity costs of high top pay has impacts in terms of the pay of lower and middle income workers and investment in the business. Now, it's interesting that polling by the High Pay Centre suggests that the overwhelming majority of the public think that CEOs should not be paid more than 20 times their typical employee. And if the government wants to consider the politics of this, I'd point to the conclusions in a report, The Spirit Level at 15, by Professors Kate Pickett and Richard Wilkinson, which articulated many of the ways in which inequality strengthens far-right politics. Executive pay is only part of that story, but it's a very visible part, and this amendment offers the government a way forward to start to tackle that political problem as well as the economic and the social issues. I beg to move.